Well, he won the press conference. Hello, everybody. Sam McKewon with the Omaha World-Herald and HuskerExtra.com. Matt Rhule's press conference is over. Lasted about 30 minutes. Nebraska's new football coach put on a pretty good show when you think about it, giving pretty detailed answers about the kind of coach he wants to be here, the kind of team he wants to build, tough, physical, the kind of recruiting he wants to do. He wants to go to Texas. He wants to go to Florida, New Jersey, the 500-mile radius, and the reason why he took the job. And he spent a lot of time talking about Trev Alberts. He spent a lot of time talking about Ted Carter, the University of Nebraska president. And he talked quite a bit, as did Athletic Director Trev Alberts and Carter, about the hurdles that Nebraska had to clear to get this thing done. The bottom line is the Carolina Panthers played some sort of contractual hardball with Matt Rhule. The Panthers fired him and owed him quite a bit of money in firing him. And for some reason, it was really challenging for Nebraska to extract him from the contract that he was in. But as it turns out, Nebraska was able to get it done. There were times when Rhule even admitted that he wasn't sure it was going to happen. He just wasn't sure it was going to get done, and then it got done. And here it is. It is an 8-year, $74 million deal. We still need to see the numerical outlays on that. I don't know if it's going to be smaller at the beginning and larger as it goes on. That's my hunch, is that's going to be the case. The assistant salary pool is $7 million, which is the largest that Nebraska's ever had, and will be competitive with the top teams in the Big Ten. Not the highest, but definitely competitive. And then from there, where does Rhule go? Well, he's going to be here all week long. He talked to the team around 11:30 a.m. He got that part of it done, and then he's going to talk to the coaching staff here probably this afternoon. The big question whether he'll be able to retain Mickey Joseph. We'll see. What we've heard is that Mickey's asked for a pretty long and expensive contract. So we'll see if that's the case. It's hard to know exactly whether that's accurate or not, but that's just sort of the scuttlebutt, and he probably has earned that. So we'll see if Mickey Joseph is around to interim head coach. If not, well, Nebraska's going to move on, and they'll try to find some other folks. Casey Thompson has already talked to Matt Rhule. It'll be important to keep him in the fold, and I think there's question marks as it stands right now about whether or not Thompson's going to come back for another year, but we'll absolutely see. Whatever happens with him, we'll have more on Casey Thompson and his thoughts on Matt Rhule here on the Omaha World-Herald. Evan Bland talked to him, so you can look for that particular story. As far as Rhule's pomp and circumstance, well, I think it went pretty darn well. Certainly Trev Alberts liked a lot about Rhule. They talk similarly about the way that they look at the world. As it turned out, Matt Rhule and his wife Julie came in on a game day, on a day when there was a game, and people were quiet and they were all over the place, and so they were able to just kind of walk around and look at the world for a day, and not necessarily go to the game, but watch Lincoln and see what it's like, and kind of mill around that way. And so they got an up close look at this place, much like a recruit would, and I think they liked what they saw. Then they went back, and apparently there was a moment where it wasn't going to come through, when it wasn't going to pan out. And Matt Rhule even said over in the breakout interview, this is the place I was going to go. Then Nebraska came back, and they figured it out. We'll see exactly what that contract is. I think that's going to be one of the big question marks. But, a festive day. Nebraska went with a different kind of press conference setup than they've had in the past. It was very, there was the band here. There were a lot of donors here in the back. I think one current player, Brian Buschini, and Casey Thompson was sitting up there in the balcony. There were a few, but there's going to be time for Matt Rhule to try to win this team over. I think one of the best things that he said today is there's not going to be a decision made in the next week that is going to make the long-term direction of Nebraska football, and that's exactly right. I think there's going to be a ton of pressure on him to try to get as many players as possible, as quickly as possible. There's going to be a ton of pressure on him to retain Joseph, but at the end of the day, he was not hired at Nebraska so that he could make the right decisions in the next 5 days. If they thought it was that important, then they would have just hired Joseph or some other coach who would do exactly what Nebraska people thought that they should do. The reality is Rhule is going to probably tear a lot of this down, and he's going to build it all back up. It's going to be a really interesting thing to watch. All right, Husker fans, we're going to have tons of coverage, obviously, on HuskerExtra.com and the Omaha World-Herald. Tons and tons and tons of coverage. You're going to watch it there, and we will have coverage all week of the new Matt Rhule era. Thanks, Husker fans.